Oh, hello. This is Colin. Just making sure. Buckingham Palace, one of my current favorite teas right now. So, anyway, I've been talking recently about the history of tea, particularly in the British Isles, and we'd gotten around the 17th century, and it made me wonder, well, what did people drink before the advent of coffee, tea, and chocolate with the products of the Age of Exploration? And the answer apparently is mostly booze. Now, this may not be as bad as it sounds because for most people in Europe, the water was simply dangerous to drink. And the alcohol, which would kill a lot of the bugs and germs and things, actually made the water much safer. But this meant that people from all classes of society drank booze morning, noon, and night, pretty much. From the weaker ales and the beers and the sack of the working classes. They also had a wide variety of these syrup drinks that they would mix with water that were herbal with spices and booze. These don't really, I haven't really been able to find out much about them, but there seem to be many different kinds. Of course, the rich would also be drinking beer and ale, but as well they would import wine or spirits from the continent. And throughout the 17th century, whiskey was moving out of Scotland and becoming more popular in the rest of the British Isles. Now, of course, there is a temptation when you have that much alcohol running around to drink yourself to excess, being particularly common after dinner, where more often men, although everybody, men, women, and children, consumed alcohol, particularly men, would drink themselves into a coma. And that is part of the origin of the well-known practice you may have seen on television of the genteel after dinner separating. The men would go into a study to drink port and smoke cigars, while the ladies would retire and, crochet or something. This may seem like a patriarchal control gesture, but at the same time, women were not expected to drink a lot, and they were certainly did not expected to smoke. So who the hell would want to hang around a bunch of drunken guys smoking? So the ladies would retire, and once again, we should thank the patron saint of tea in the English-speaking world, at least, the Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza, who brought over the custom of tea drinking from Portugal to Britain. And her salons, where after dinner she would gather the ladies and they would go off to another room and they would drink tea. Now, this helped to popularize tea in the domestic setting. Otherwise, tea was only really available in coffee houses. But before long, by the end of the 17th century, tea was very common amongst the wealthy. They were able to display their refinement, not just because of the tea, but because of the tea serving. Because the tea, the china, the pure porcelain white china you got from China, was quite delicate. So one way you showed off your refinement was the fact that you could present and serve tea with these delicate vessels. Not to mention the fact that the lower quality tea servings would often fracture when hot tea was poured into them. So tea became a real social display, and it became common for visitors during the daytime when they came to a house to be served tea. This, of course, this social, domestic role of tea was looked down upon by some people. I have an excerpt from a letter by Henry Saville, and where she wrote to his secretary, Coventry of His Majesty's government, complaining about his friends, who call for tea instead of pipes and bottles after dinner, a base, unworthy Indian practice, and which I must ever admire your most Christian family for not admitting. Wow. Once again, tea was seen by some as Indian practice, a terrible foreign thing, quite unlike our Christian booze up and drinking until you're senseless. Anyway, so, well, I'll speak some more eventually on the progress of tea, but at the end of the 17th century, the tea was ready to make a leap across the class divide of England and across Europe. Anyway, cheers.